Hi, I'm Miss Spencer. I teach fifth grade, and I'm going to be reading chapter 12 of our Read Aloud, Addison Adley and the Things That Aren't There. Chapter 12. Wednesday morning at school just flew past. Do you ever notice that when you want time to go slowly, it speeds up? Like it's getting back at you for wasting it. I really needed that time to practice my speech, or at least my 6 lines of it anyway. At lunch, we set up the food for the party in the party room. It was really the study room for the grade 5s and 6s, but we called it the party room. I guess we were supposed to feel honored to have our own study room. Party room sounded a heck of a lot better to me. I mean, why would you waste a perfectly good room on studying? Everybody laid out their snacks for the party afterwards. I put my punch out smack in the middle of the table. It still looked a lot darker than Mom's version, but maybe it was just the lighting in there. It sort of reminded me of the color of mud at the creek on a rainy day. Mrs. Wilson showed up for the afternoon. She promptly moved my punch out of the way and put Tiffany's peanut butter cookies in the center of the table. Like daughter, like mother, she even shoved aside the ventriloquist dummy that Becky had used for her speech the day before. It must be pretty bad when you think a dummy is going to compete with your daughter for attention. Then again, it's Tiffany we're talking about. The dummy would win hands down. Miss Steen put the money we'd collected for the pizza in a bowl by the punch. She turned out the lights and closed the door. She told us that we weren't allowed to go back in there until after the speeches were done and the pizza delivered. Then we could have our party. I was the last person to give my speech. I pretended to listen to the other speeches that afternoon, but really, my mind was just racing. It was racing so fast that I couldn't catch it. I kept reminding myself that I already had the 6 lines memorized and that it would be easy to make up the rest. I just pretend I was talking to Sam, telling him some made up story about fishing or baseball. All I needed to do was fill in the blanks for 3 minutes. The problem was, I couldn't really fill in the blanks when my whole mind was a blank. There was nothing to fill in. For some reason, I couldn't seem to concentrate on my speech. It must have been the chocolate bars I had at lunch. Mom told me that too much sugar would give me a sugar rush. I wish the sugar would rush to my brain and give it a kick start. After recess, Mrs. Wilson came storming into the classroom, raving about how somebody had snuck into the party room and helped themselves to some snacks and some of my punch, which was now spilled all over the cookies and Becky's dummy's head. There was also some money gone from the pizza bowl. I was sure Mrs. Lamp was more worried about Tiffany's precious cookies than the missing money. Someone in here has been in the party room, Mrs. Wilson growled, staring straight at me. Why does everyone automatically think that if something's messed up, it's me who did it? I guess I should be proud of myself for having people think I'm so powerful. But sometimes I get tired of being the first one to be accused. Miss Steen put on her sternest teacher voice. All right, class. Whoever is responsible for taking the food and money, please own up to it right now. Don't let this ruin our party. There was silence as everyone squirmed. Nobody volunteered any information. Mrs. Wilson snarled, "We'll find out who the thief is. There's a way to find out. There's always a way. We'll just look for the evidence. It'll show up. That student is going to pay." She glared at every one of us, stopping extra long on me. I felt sorry for whoever did it. With Detective Lamp on the case, they wouldn't stand a chance. "We'll discuss this matter after the speeches are done," Miss Steen said firmly. Right now, let's have the last two speakers. Chris, the guy in front of me, gave his speech on whales. I pretended to listen. I should have been using that time to go over my own speech, but I couldn't help thinking about Becky's dummy instead. I could just imagine what it looked like with my punch all over it. Poor Becky would be really upset now. I'd have to give her some of Mom's extra paper clips to take home to her mother, who was probably going to be mad. I heard the class clap. Chris took a bow. My hands started to sweat. And finally, we have Addison Adley and the things that aren't there. I heard Miss Steen speak as if from another planet. Everything seemed very far away. I'm really glad that my legs have a mind of their own because they somehow found their way to the front of the classroom. Everyone was quiet. They just stared at me, waiting for something. Then I remembered they were waiting for me to speak. I coughed, I blinked, I started my speech. And that is the end of chapter 12.